Hi, I'm Andy Beck, and thanks for stopping by to have a look at this film, one of a series of films of how I converted my Nissan NV200 into a campervan. In this episode, I'll show you how I applied the carpet lining to the interior of the van. I didn't use the conventional method of putting on large sections of fabric. What I did was I cut it up into smaller sections and then applied it using the glue with a brush and then sticking the fabric to the metal of the vehicle. I apologise that the film is an hour long, but I felt it needed to be that long to show you the detail of almost every aspect of the job. There is a section in the middle where it seems that I missed out me filming putting the carpet onto the glue itself, but I was all masked up with protective gear and things, and when I looked at the film it was just a waste of time. So I've left that bit out, but within the film I do give a full explanation about the process. Hopefully it won't spoil your enjoyment. If you have any questions about how to do this job, do leave them in the comments box below, and if they need a reply, I'll reply to you as soon as I can. In the meantime, enjoy the film. So this is the Veltrim laid out, and what I'm going to do now is I'm going to place the panels that need covering onto the Veltrim, mark round them, give them a little bit of about 2.5 centimetres of spare edging around the outside, and then I'll mark them out and cut out the shapes ready for adhering the carpet to the wood panels themselves. The idea, of course, is to just put them down initially to see where they go, so that there's as little wastage as possible on the whole of the carpet. I'm not bothered about standing on it because obviously it'll brush clean. That's what it's all about. So what I'll do is I'll cut this length off, and then I've got all this spare to roll up and use for the actual lining of the van itself. Now I'll mark round and cut out each individual panel ready for gluing. Because Veltrim's a little bit thicker than the normal 4-stretch material, I've found in my experiments that I need to leave an edge of about 2.5 centimetres all the way around each panel, so that when it folds over it will attach much easier. If you leave it too narrow, it'll just pop back up. And then I'll use the straight edge of another panel just to mark out where I'm going to cut. That's the Veltrim marked up with the panels, so I'll take those off and cut all the shapes out. To do this, I'm going to use a spare piece of ply underneath the carpet, a good sharp Stanley knife and a good straight edge. So the next job is to carpet the panels. Now the panels that came with the van were held in place by these small trim clips. I want to use the same method, and on the ply panel I've got here, I've already drilled the holes where the clips will fit. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the trim clips in and just use a little bit of masking tape to hold them in place while I spray the wood and carpet with glue, and then when it's all dried, held together, I can just pop them on using the pre-drilled holes to fix the panel. It just needs a little bit of masking tape to hold the trim clips in place so they stop and fall out as I'm moving the panel around as I'm spraying and fitting the carpet. So that's the panel with the trim clips fixed in, poking out the other side. This is the inside, of course. And next job is to spray this and the carpet, put them both together, fold in the edges, and that's one panel ready for fitting. Okay, that's the first one done. Bit of trial and error. Not easy doing it with the poppers, the trim clips in, but yeah, I'm pleased with that end result. And quite tidy around the back, making sure that all the poppers can be clipped into position. Yeah, just do the others now. I'm at a point now where I'm considering the carpet lining of the van. Now, having looked at videos online, most of the vans which have been converted are panel vans, so they don't have the windows, they don't have maybe a sliding door here, and what people do is they get the four-way stretch carpet lining, spray the interior of the van metal, and then spray the carpet, put it on, and with the flexibility of the four-way stretch you can stretch it and work your way around corners and joints and things like that with one big piece. Well, in this van, firstly it's not a very big van, but I've got this which is a sliding door, so that needs one piece on its own if you're going to do it that way. And then I've got this back area here which is also another piece, the tailgate, and then of course the same on the other side. But as I've already carpeted this area, this is going to be the ply panel which I've already carpeted. I've got a window here, I've got a carpeted panel here, I've got the wheel arch which needs to be a separate piece of carpet anyway, and then the window here. I think it'll be quite I was going to say wasteful, it would be awkward and wasteful to cut one big piece for here and then take out that and take out that. So I've done a bit of experimenting, and I spoke to a guy who actually supplied me the carpet, and he said with a good clean cut I could actually join the carpet so it's almost invisible to the eye. The joint would be almost invisible, and you could just make up strips and small sections of carpet to do small pieces at a time, do a really good join, and you wouldn't know the difference and you wouldn't waste as much material in lining the carpet. So I'm going to have a look at doing it that way. But before I've done that, I've looked at how I do the interior of the panels, and what I've done, you can see here, hopefully, I'm looking at doing this area here as one strip of carpet material. And so I'll cut generous size segments to go in here, and I've labelled them all up, and I've marked where I could put the joins in. Now remember that in this van here I've got cupboard space here, so this will all be cupboard. There'll be cupboard here, and on the other side I'll have my bed box with a cupboard here. There'll be a cushion, so there's actually very little area of interior which will be seen as a carpet lined section. So if I do a really good job, it's me anyway, I'm not putting this thing on show, it's not going to be up for sale, so I'm going to have a look at doing it in sections and not do this huge panel which is of carpet, which is a little bit more awkward to do, and again, as I say, wasteful both in glue and material. And that's what I'm going to do. So I've marked out where I think the most appropriate joins will be. I will cut a piece of material that's generous so that it overlaps, and then I'll show you how I'll do the joints. If it works, it works. If I don't, I'm going to have the awkward job of peeling it all off and looking at doing it the other way. Now there's people who are going to tell me that's not the best way of doing it, or that's not the way to do it, but this is me doing it for the first time and experimenting a bit, and hopefully come out with a really good result anyway. And that's what I'm after. For carpet lining the van, as I've said, what I'm going to do is make strips or very small panels of carpet lining, cut them into a generous shape, and I'm going to put glue onto, let's use this as the panel. I'm going to put glue on the panel, spray glue on the back of the carpet, and then I'm going to attach one piece of carpet. and I'm going to press it all into place apart from the end that I'm going to trim and cut and make the join. I'll then get my next piece of carpet, again put adhesive onto the interior of the metal of the van, glue on the back of the carpet, and then bring up the next piece of carpet to join. And I think the secret here, instead of trying to do straight cuts out of the van, the best thing to do is put a generous overlap in between the two pieces of carpet lining, and when they're in place, use a very sharp Stanley knife to do a neat single cut that takes both pieces of carpet. And then when I've done that, I will then be able to put a good join together of both carpets. That's the theory anyway. And with a little bit of cosmetic work, I don't think you'll be able to see the join. So what I'm going to do now is do a test piece on this piece of ply. It's actually part of the panels from the van, offcut, and these two bits of carpet, and I'll do a test piece on here just to see if it works. So that's the adhesive applied to both the panel and then the back of the carpet. One piece fixed to the inside of the carpet, just lightly tack that on. Leave this bit a bit loose. Once I know that's in place, bring the other piece, overlap it, push it down there, and then I've got that overlap join. And then a good clean cut. Take off that piece and that, and then push both pieces up together so they butt against each other nice and tightly. And do that. Now, I'll just take off my gloves and mask. This is just a test piece and I haven't done any extra work to this. Obviously it's on a flat surface, so that makes it a bit easier, but just what I can do, I have a little stiff brush here, little kitchen brush, and just by gently scuffing that over like that, just to match the pile or draw the pile one piece into each other. And this is the first test piece, but there's my bit of carpet. There's my bit of carpet that I've joined. Now, I don't know about you, but you'd have to be really picky to be able to identify the joint on that. It may not work as well in the van, but this test piece is pretty good. The only way you can tell where the joint is that mark there, which I actually cut too deep on the Stanley knife. But the joint runs down here. So just turning it into the different light, that's that. I'm happy with that. I don't think you'll be able to see that. If you're looking at the joints in my carpet inside my van, then you need to get something to do with your life. That'll do me. Now I'm just about to start carpet lining the van. And I've got everything together, so I'll just go through the bits and pieces. Obviously the most important thing is the carpet lining itself. I've got the glue, the spray glue for the inside of the carpet itself, and I've also got the brush on glue which I will apply to the metalwork of the van. I'll talk about the glue in a minute. And then I've got a good sharp Stanley knife, sharp scissors, and a couple of brushes for applying the glue. Spare Stanley knife blades ready to hand because I really want a good sharp cut on each piece of carpet. And then I've got a couple of bits of protective gear, a face mask, goggles and latex gloves. Now on both of these glues, the spray glue and the brush on glue, it does give you the warnings of how, I was going to say dangerous, but it gives you the warnings, the health warnings about using this glue. It's very strong, both in vapor and obviously the adhesion purposes itself. So I've got the workshop doors open today, so I've got plenty of fresh air coming into the workshop. But as a precaution, I'll follow their guidelines and use latex gloves because it does cause your fingers to split and things like that. But read the warning signs on it, and you know, you use whatever safety precautions you feel fit. But the advice is there on the tins. One of the things I have got is a little jam jar, and I'm going to use that to decant some of the brushable glue into the jar itself, so that I can use it a bit at a time and then reseal it so that the glue stays workable, and then obviously the big tin will be put to one side. A smaller jar means that if I do make a spillage, there'll be less to clear up. Tip that over, you'll be clearing it up for days. So that's about it. Next job is to start applying the adhesive. I'm just making some final preparations before I carpet line the van, and one of those is to remove any of the fittings which will be in front of the lining when it's finished. So that includes the sliding door handle, your support handle, and then the front seat belts. All I have to do is undo the nuts, because I want to put the carpet behind this plastic cover. So because there's a fitting down there, the easiest thing to do is take the whole cover off and put it back on. I've done it on this side, you can see there, and I've put a black line. It's a removable line, but it'll be covered anyway, to give me an indication of where the plastic cover goes. And then I will carpet right up to that edge and round there and away from the fitting itself. I don't need to do down there, and so all of this pillar can be lined, and then I just need to mark these holes so that the bolts can be refitted, and that'll be a nice neat finished carpet on the pillars. The other thing that I have done is I've removed the door trim around the sliding door opening, and then just around the driver's door as well, just taking the trim away so that I can get the glue right into the edge there and put the carpet on, and that'll give a really nice finish when the rubber goes back on, because I can get a clean cut on that edge. And then the final thing to do before I put the glue on to give it good adhesion is to give all the surfaces a good wipe down, get into all the grooves and the indentations of the panel itself, and then wipe it all clean, ready to spread the glue on. Remember that what I'm doing is I'm going to put brushable glue on this surface and spray glue on the inside of the carpet and bring the two together. Well, that's the interior of the van carpet lined, apart from the inside of the doors, which I'll go on to do next. It went okay. The vel trim was quite difficult to work with. There was hardly any stretch in it at all. So when it came to the rounded corners, I had to do more cuts than I expected. But the good thing about the van, this is how it's looking at the minute. You can see inside here. I've put the panels back on just to have a look see, and I haven't done the finishing off, the tidying up and taken any specks of fluff off yet, but or any finishing touches. But yeah, the good thing about this van and the way I've designed it is that even if you can see little areas down in here where there is a cut and you can see the join, the thing is that that's going to be fairly well hidden by the cupboards. The top of the wheel arches were quite difficult because of that the lack of stretch in the vel trim, I'm sure a pro would do that much better, but this is a first time job. But the wheel arch is actually concealed in the bed box, so that's never going to be seen. Same with this joint here, could be better, but there's a shelf there, so that's going to be hidden. Overall I'm quite pleased, but I am, as I said before, a perfectionist, and yeah, I can see things that, well, if I'd done it again I'd do it better. Maybe the four-way stretch material is the way to go, but I love the finish of this. This is really nice, thick, quality material, and it's got a really good carpet-like finish to it. And I've got a couple of areas to do. This one area here, let me just show you, is going to be a little bit awkward. It's just above the tailgate, the last bit of frame above the tailgate, and there's these two indents here where the bolts are for the actual tailgate itself that hold on. Now the chances of me ever having to get there are very small, but what I'm going to do is going to use a bit of Kingspan to plug that area there and just tack it in, and then carpet right over, so I get a nice smooth finish across the width of the back of the van itself, just across the heading above the back door. So that's the job I'm going to do next, and then I'll fit in the ceiling panels, which are already done, ready to be clipped in, and then I'll get on and do the doors. That's the last bit of the carpet lining done on the panel of the van itself. I'm pleased with this job. It's a very good finish. Hardly see, in fact I can't see the join there. And then I've cut the aperture for the interior light, and then the little bits of trim have to go back in, the trim around the door edge, and then I can get on and do the fit the ceiling panels. So that's the way I've done every section of the carpet lining on my NV200, and I'm pleased with the result. Yeah, I could have done better if I'd done it again, but first go, I'm very pleased. I'm now moving on to putting the two ceiling panels back in. The panel here, the biggest one, fits nearer the front. What I have to do is take the light fitting back off and present the panel up to the ceiling and clip it back in and screw the light fitting back on. That's all there is to it. Now, when I had the ply before I had it covered, what I did was I punctured the holes I need for the clips to go through the foil lining. So that should be quite easy to line those up and then push them in. Of course, I haven't done this before with this panel into this ceiling, so this is a first run through. Hopefully it will be quite straightforward. In the end, hopefully it'll be a very good finish and look to the inside of the van. What I'm going to do is feed the light fitting through the hole and then use the 2 screws on the light fitting to just give me some sort of assistance in holding the panel up to the ceiling, so I can line the trim clips and push them into their housings. Actually, the good thing is it's such a good fit, and the carpet pushing against the carpet of the van lining means that I haven't screwed it in yet, and I can go ahead and pop the trim clips in and put the screws in last, perhaps. There's the roof panel in. I'm pleased with that. The carpet has made it a really good tight fit, but of course the trim clips hold it up in place anyway, as does the screw for the light fittings. Just from this angle you can just see the locations of the trim clips, but it's just the way the light's coming in. If you look at somewhere else, over here for instance, you can't see them, but you would have got that anyway by using the trim clips. So I'm pleased with that. Really neat, makes a good look to the van, and it's nice and neat and tidy. So I'll put the back one in next, and that should be easier because it's a smaller unit. Well, the second section didn't take too long to fit, just simply a case of holding it up and popping the trim clips in, and then forcing the carpet against carpet to give a really nice neat fit, and that's what I've ended up with. Well, I've just finished the sliding door on the passenger side, doing the carpet lining on that. So the last door and the last part of the carpet lining that I have to do is the other sliding door. I've left these two to last because I thought they were going to be the most awkward. And I'm doing the same system as I've done before with the rest of the van, is that I'm using small strips to line sections of the panel at a time, and then carefully making good joins at angles and trying to disguise those so you can see as little of the join as possible. So it's the last one. As you can see, there's an awkward shape to the door, and the rounded top, there's very little edge on there, and then down the bottom there's an awkward section. But I took my time and did the other door earlier, and I'm pleased with the result, which I'll show you at the end. So I'll get on and do this door. I just have to remove the handle fixing so I can put a bit of carpet behind there, and yeah, it shouldn't take too long. The other door took me about an hour. Once this one's done, I'll give you a little bit of a show round the inside of the van now that it's all finished. Now, to put the carpet lining on the sliding doors, which are the most complicated panels in some ways, I'll show you what I've done. I've taken off the plastic door handle, which is quite easy to do. you just need to get inside the door handle there, and you can see if you push back the handle or pull back the handle, you can see the two fixing nuts in there. Unscrew those, and then there's a push clip, and that just comes away. So I'm left with the bare door. What I've done is close the door, and then I have just given it a wipe down with a good clean cloth. Make sure that's nice and clean. With the door fully shut, what I then did was get a black marker pen and run it round the inside of this trim on the outside of the door, on the part of the vehicle itself. So you're leaving a black line where this trim meets the door. And do that all the way around, right down into the bottom. And then if you just open the door, you can see that line, which will act as a guideline as to where you put the edge of the carpet. Because you don't want the carpet to go behind this door seal where there'll be water. If it rains hard, you want to keep the carpet back from that seal. So this black line on the door will be my edge to the carpet. The next job, I measure up and cut the strips of carpet like this, so that you get the edge from the black line on the door across the contour of the panel, and then down onto the window, just giving it a little bit of an overhang for fine-tuned cutting. Then to apply the carpet, what I do is just open the door slightly to move it away from the door opening, and then I apply the brush-based adhesive onto the metalwork of the door, just where I'm going to put the strip. So I have the strips already cut out, as I said. I then, outside the van, I apply the spray adhesive, and then I bring them back in. This is obviously just a dry run to show you. I bring them back in, and I've made sure that when I've cut these strips, I've used a really good straight edge. And then with the glue applied, I can put this bit of carpet right up to that black line, and the black line will act as a guide. And once I've stuck it to that side with the black line, I can then crease it in towards the window itself. But I know that the edging is right up to the guideline. And I do that bits at a time, and then I get a really neat finish to the door, which I'll show you in a minute. And that's how I do the carpet lining of the doors on my van. Now I'll go ahead and glue all these strips on and do the trimming, and I'll come back to you in a short while and show you the result after I've glued all the strips on and tidied them up on the door itself. So about an hour and a half's worth of work, and I've now put the carpet lining on the sliding door. I'm pleased with this. It's a good neat finish, and any joints that can still be seen. What I do now is I use this little stiff nail brush, and any joints, I just rough them up a bit and lift the pile, and it disguises any joints that can be seen. And that's it. Now I did a little research, or I did a lot of research in fact, onto the way to finish off the windows and the edge of the windows. I didn't want condensation off the windows running down and then leaching onto the carpet and making the carpet go wet and maybe mouldy. But I looked at ways of doing it and tried some beading and some taping, and there was nothing that was really satisfactory that was reasonably easy to apply. But when I glued the first bits of carpet on the rear window and left it to dry, I realised that in fact on this Combi van, the windows which are already in, they're not pressed right up against this metal. There's a gap of a couple of mil between the glass and the metal. So any condensation forms will go down through the glass and then out onto the outside of the vehicle. It's probably because this is meant as a Combi van to have people in it and they don't want condensation forming and running down the metalwork. So there is a gap between the glass and the metal. So what I've decided to do is keep it really simple. I've glued the carpet right up to the edge, but not to the final edge of metal. And so as I'll just show you here, you can see that there's the metal and then there's a very fine gap there. And so what I've done is I've glued right up to the edge, and then at the very end, when the glue is dried, I've neatly shaved the carpet, almost beveled it to match the edge of the metal. And I'm really pleased with that. There's no water going to get from the glass onto the carpet itself. So I'm pleased. Now, the last thing I've got to do really is to put on the carpet panel. And it goes on one way. You may remember that when I lined the ply panels with carpet, what I did was I got the carpet and I tucked it right over. Well, having tried it out, the double width of the carpet means that the trim clips don't hold very well. So I've had to get the Stanley knife, and it doesn't look very neat, but I've trimmed off the excess of the carpet that was on the back of the panel. So what it means is now that the board is only the thickness of the ply, which is 3.6 mil, and then the carpet itself. And that means that these trim clips have got a better opportunity to grip into the catches on the van panel itself. So I've tried it on the other door and it works really well. And so I'll go ahead and fit this panel back into the holes and then fit the door handle back on. And that's about it for now. The idea is to locate the trim catch holes first before applying too much pressure, and then just work your way around the panel so you know that all the clips are in the right location. Once you've got the two, there's two in the middle here, once they're located across, that makes the job a lot easier. And now they're all in. That looks really good. On the other side, on the other door, earlier on when I fitted it in, just because there's some little protrusions here of where the clips are, it looks a bit drastic, but I gently tap in the pins to go in as far as they go, the trim clips as far as they go. And you can hear them just making that final click to locate them. And that's it. Now, what I didn't expect, and I'm really pleased with, is, you probably won't be able to see it in this light, but I'll show it to you later, is that the way that I've done it with the carpet and the ply, the panel now fits perfectly flush with the carpet here, and it's very hard to distinguish where the panel is compared to the actual door itself. So I'm really pleased with that. That was fluke more than good judgment. But yeah, it's very neat. There's a little bit of a carpet there because it's such a tight fit, and so what I've done, I have a little tool. I'll just go and get that. I have this little spreader tool, and what I do is I just push the bit of carpet in there, and it makes a really neat finish. That's that done, and now just to fit the handle trim. Two screws. Just locate those in, and then here is just a press clip, and that's clipped in, and then tighten the screws up. Nice and neat and secure. Check the door opens. And that's it. Door all trimmed, ready for the finishing touches. Well, that's the interior of the van, carpet lined and completed. I've left it to dry overnight and clear away some of the glue smells. So I'll show you what it looks like. It's almost finished, but I'll explain that as I show you around. So as you look inside, that's the interior of the van that I'm looking at there, and I'll just show you how the doors have finished looking. And that's the inside of the door. You can see that I've carpeted the pillar with the handle and the seat belt fitting on it, and then looking back towards the rear of the van, the ceiling all finished, and then the back. The wheel arches are done. I could have perhaps done those better. I'm a little bit, I was going to say disappointed. Yeah, I could have done those better if I had time. It's the vel trim which is very difficult to move, but I'm not really too concerned because these are going to be hidden away behind the storage boxes and cabinets. And the other door done. I'm really pleased with the nice neat finish around the panels on the doors there, and that. And then I'll show you the inside of the back door. What I'll do is I'll close that. And then you can see that's the back door closed and finished. That's one big space of panel there, very flat, but I've got plans for using that area, which I'll complete at the end. Now the plan is to put a trim around the carpet lining on the door. I want to use some really good strong narrow tape to do that. That'll be the best solution, I think. I've tried different things, but I think a good strong sort of waterproof tape would be good. Just about 12-15 mil wide, that will cover just the edge of the carpet and then onto the door frame, so that when the door is shut it will provide a waterproof seal. And that's what I want to do, but that'll be a later job because I've got to source some of that material before I can fit it. But yeah, carpet lining done. Now that I've finished lining the interior of the van with the nice Veltrim carpet, there's just one finishing job that I'd like to do, really, to complete the task. You'll remember on the film that when I attached the carpet to the doors, I left an edge because that's where the rubber trim around the door frame meets the door itself. So the carpet goes straight to the metal. Well, I'd like to put a black edging around all of those carpet pieces just to give that finishing touch. What I've got is a roll of this thin, I think it's about 15 mil sticky tape. It's a cloth tape. I believe they actually call it loom tape in electrical terms, and it's used to bandage up electrical wires. It's flexible, it's nice, it's got a nice cloth finish to it, and it should really do the job very well. My intention then is to just put this tape all around these edges to tidy it up and give it a nice finish. One of the jobs I will do before I actually put the tape on is to go around all of these edges on the metalwork with a small amount of adhesive remover on a cloth and take off any little bits of stray glue, but it will also do the job of taking the dust off the metal, and that will give the tape a really good chance to adhere really firmly. So that's the job I'm going to get on with now. I'll take my time. It shouldn't take too long anyway, but if it works out right, I'll have a really nice trim to the edge of the carpet on all of the doors. It only takes a little bit of spray on the cloth and then just gently rub on the metalwork, not too much on the carpet because you don't want that to stain or anything, and just go around the edging, taking off any of the glue or dust and dirt that's caught on there anyway. And I'll do that all the way around. You can see it must have some effect because it's getting some grime off there already. It is providing a really nice, neat finish, and I love it. It's just what I need to complete the job. The only hiccup is going around these tight corners. So, because the tape is not stretchy at all, I found the best way of doing it, going by the corner at the bottom, is just by snipping the tape and making the corners up out of just 2 extra pieces. The nice thing is that the tape is covered in this sort of material that you can't see in the joins, so that's a real advantage, especially along here where it's very awkward to get your hands up and work your way along the top. I could take the door off, of course, but that's just a lot of hassle, and I don't think I'll get much of a better result than I'm doing here now. So taking my time and doing a really nice, neat finish. Now it's really difficult to get to the rear side of the door to finish this job from inside, so I'm going to go outside and do it, because that gives me a little bit more leeway to get my hands in to do a good neat finish. Right, so that's the edging to the door finished. It's really come out quite neat. Once I got the hang of it, it was quite simple to do. The corners being quite difficult, but the most difficult place to do was down here, the back edge of the sliding door, because there's not much room to get your hand in between, but I think I've done a pretty good job there. And besides that, you can hardly see it, and especially where the door's shut, you can see where I've made it so that it matches the rubber trim of the door itself. So that's the drive, and I'll just show you back here. I've done the same around the tailgate, and that looks neat. And I can't show you very well at the minute because of the way the van is. But, I've done it all around the edge, and it looks neat when the door's closed there too. And it really finishes off the carpet trim of the interior of the van. I like that. I think it's well worth doing, and it will add some sort of barrier between the metal of the doors themselves and the carpet, and it's quite easy to replace if I need to. Job done. And there you are. That's how I applied the carpet lining to the inside of my Nissan NV200 for a campervan conversion. I realise it's a method which may not appeal to everyone, but it's just to show you how I did it. If you get inspiration and information, then fair enough. If you have any questions or comments, then do feel free to leave them in the boxes below, and if it's a question, I'll reply to you as soon as I can. In the meantime, do take a look at the rest of the films on this channel which show you the whole process of the campervan conversion. But thanks for taking time to watch.